Hi everyone, I'm Daniel, and I'm going to take you on a tour of ArkhamDB, the go-to website for building your deck in Arkham Horror the card game, and also a great way to explore the cards themselves. First of all, this website is fan-created and fan-maintained, so thank you so much to everyone who works on ArkhamDB. I've spent many hours just poring over the cards here, seeing which investigators can take what, and doing some research on the encounter cards. I have no doubt that I wouldn't be as big of a fan of the game as I am if ArkhamDB didn't make it so easy to build my own decks. If you're new to the game, you might not be familiar with this website, and even if you're not new, you might not be familiar with all it has to offer. So let's take a look at what I think are the most useful features. I'm recording this video at the beginning of 2023, so things might have changed since then. If so, I apologize, and hopefully you'll be able to figure things out. First off, I think there are three main purposes to the website. One is to look at decks that other people have built and published on the website for inspiration. Second is to build and maintain your own decks throughout a campaign. And third is just to browse the cards themselves. Let's start with looking at published decks. You can find some on the home page here, or by clicking on deck lists up here at the top. You can even search for deck lists that contain particular cards. Let's say we wanted to see any deck list that has William Yorick and Knife. These are all the decks that someone has published for everyone to be able to find on the website. When you make your own decks, you can keep them completely private, and only people with the link can see them. Let's take a look at this first one here by clicking on it. You can see the deck over here on the left, and some author notes on the right. One thing many new players like to do is to make a copy of the deck and edit it from there. To do this, you'll need an account on ArkhamDB first. You can create an account up here on the right. Once you've signed in, from here we can just click on Copy, and a clone of this deck will appear on our screen and also in our My Decks list. We can now click Edit and enter the ArkhamDB deck building interface. The first thing we should do is click on Collection, and then click on this next link to make sure we are only building with cards in our own collection. Arkham Horror the card game recently moved to a different release model, so if you are new to the game, you might wonder what is going on here. Each section here is separated by campaign cycle. It used to be that player cards and the scenarios were released in the same Mythos Pack products, and that is how ArkhamDB is still organized. If you have the Dunwich Legacy Investigator expansion, but not the Dunwich Legacy Campaign expansion, you should still make sure all the boxes here are checked. As far as the core sets go, if you have the revised core only, I would still just leave all of these boxes checked too, because there are occasionally some issues if you try to add a card, but it's actually pulling it from the original core set. Sometimes there are duplicates in the listings, but that's okay. I'm going to leave everything here checked to make things simpler. Let's go back to Build. On this side, we get listings of all of the cards that William Yorick can take in our collection. By default, it shows us the level 0, neutral, and survivor cards, but we should know that he can take guardian cards too. If you mouse over Yorick's name, you can read the backside of the card, which has his deck building capabilities and restrictions. We can add Guardian to the list by holding down Shift and selecting Guardian 2. If we want just assets, or events, or skills, we can select that individually. You should be able to mouse over the card names to see what the cards do. But you can also click on the card to see the image and more information. Let's try adding a beat cop and removing the medical student from this deck. First, I'll click on medical student here, and then 0, and then find beat cop in our list and click on it. Above the image, we can add 1 or 2 quantities by clicking on the number under deck quantity, and on this side you could add the deck to your side deck. There is no official side deck in Arkham Horror the card game. People generally just use this to add in cards that they plan on upgrading to in the future. If you want to know more about a card, you can click on Go to Card page, and it will give you more information about the card. On this page, you can also see related cards, which might be upgrades or downgrades of the card or reprints, as well as fan reviews of the card or other comments. On some pages, there'll be a Rules FAQ entry here as well. I recommend taking a look at this section in case there is some question about how the card works. Now let's go ahead and make some changes to this deck to make it playable at 0 XP. We can click over on the left to eliminate the cards with XP pips next to them, and then add the level 0 counterparts back in. You can also find cards by typing them into this field here. Down below the list of cards, you'll see an option to use the taboo list or to remove it. If we added Drawing Thin, the game will show us that it costs us 3 more XP. You can see that on the deck list itself in purple. If we eliminate the taboo list selected, that will go away. Now ArkhamDB tells us that we have too many cards, so let's go ahead and remove Drawing Thin anyway. Sometimes when you copy a deck from the published decks, there will also be a basic weakness added in. You're supposed to always roll a random basic weakness after you build a new deck, and we can do that here right in ArkhamDB. First, I'll remove Kleptomania. Then I'll go over to Campaign Cards and scroll down to find Random Basic Weakness. If you don't have the core set selected in your collection, you won't see this. Now, if we're all done with our deck, we click here to get a random weakness, drawing the sign. And now we can save our deck. It's recommended to save your deck often because if you accidentally close the window or tab without saving, all of your deck changes will be lost. Let's give it a new name first. Once you earn XP during a campaign, you can let ArkhamDB help you keep track of spending it to put new cards into your deck. Click on Upgrade and enter the amount of XP you earned, say 3. Now the build section of the page defaults to level 1 to 5 cards, again just in Survivor. I can add in the Guardian ones as before. I'll add in a level 2 Beat Cup. Of course, once you add in new cards, you'll need to remove old ones to keep your deck size legal. At the bottom of the page, it will show you what you've spent. 2 XP, and I've removed 1 level 0 Beat Cup. If you don't spend all of your XP, then it will be banked for the next scenario. Let's save here and return to the My Decks page. You can see here that your original deck is listed below the one with experience points. Let's move on to just searching for cards themselves. Go up to Cards here, and we can see that we can browse cards by set over on the left, or by searching based on particular criteria. Note that by set there are 2 possibilities. One is by cycle, the Dunwich Legacy, the Path to Carcosa, etc. The other is by the product that they came in under the original release model. The reason that there are 2 listings for the Dunwich Legacy is that one is the Dunwich Legacy Deluxe expansion, this one, and this one is the entire cycle. Until you get to the Edge of the Earth, all of these sets include both player cards and scenario cards from the campaign itself. Below the campaigns, the Return To boxes are listed, as well as the Investigator starter decks. On the other side, we can manually search for criteria. Name is the title of the card. text is any text that's included on the card itself, class, and then below are some other important attributes. I think the most important one is traits. Let's do some sample searches to see what we can find. First off, let's say I'm searching for a particular investigator to play. I'll change type to investigator. Maybe I'm sick of playing low willpower investigators. Let's see all the investigators who have at least 4 willpower. Here's what the search looks like. A few things to note at the top. 1, we have a new search bar with essentially what we put in on the last page, but in shorthand. If I click up here, we can see the shorthand for essentially all the different options that you have. I'll put the ones I think are the most important up on the screen. As you can see, there are a lot of investigators here. Let's narrow this down to just mystics. Or perhaps I'm sick of playing mystics. Let's choose everything but mystic. Here are the operators for searches. Let's do another search for a few traits at once. Say you wanted to see all spells that weren't assets. This time I want to input traits and type. Note here that there are different ways to view searches. Checklist by default, but you can also choose full card. Let's go back to checklist. Now let's limit ourselves to non-level 0 searches. Another useful thing is to search by text within the cards. Which cards refer to skulls? You can type the names of the symbols right in the search bar. Now, of course, you're going to get a lot of cards that refer to all of the different tokens, not just skulls. So how do we make sure we eliminate the other ones? Let's, for example, say that we don't want the cultist symbol. It's not really a big deal, but you can exclude decorated skull by putting brackets and quotation marks around skull. We can also search for encounter cards. How many terror cards are there in the Innsmouth Conspiracy? Let's go back to the card search page just to see what our options are. Under trait, we'll pick terror. And then under set, we'll pick the Innsmouth Conspiracy. This time we got nothing because we were only searching for player cards. Let's change that to only encounter cards. You might note that we can't see anything here because hide encounter spoilers is selected. If we deselect this, then we might get spoiled, but we'll be able to see the cards here. You might also notice that there's something else a little off here. We're only including cards from that original Innsmouth Conspiracy Deluxe set. Let's change this part to select the whole cycle. We'll change this to Y7 for Innsmouth Conspiracy. It was the 7th cycle. Now we have many more tarot cards. Now these scenarios may include encounter cards that come from the core set too. They won't show up if we select Y7. Let's go back to the card search section to see where all these values come from. Alongside on the left, you can see some numbers for each of the cycle. Remember, Innsmouth Conspiracy is number 7. This is a good way to learn the ArkhamDB syntax. Let's look again for what I need to type in for two-handed slot. Let's go over to slot, choose two-handed, And you can see that the syntax here requires that I have quotation marks around anything that might have a space in between it. Okay, finally, let's build a new deck from scratch. Let's go up to My Decks, and then New Deck. Let's build an Akachi deck. Her ability is that assets with charges on them enter play with 1 additional charge. Let's start with narrowing down our available cards to those that have charges. We can filter the list of cards here in the same exact way that we did in the card search. There's one exception. For whatever reason, you can't filter by cycle by using the letter Y. Anyway, we'll search for charges. We can also see that there are cards that have charges in other classes by clicking up here. Let's add in a few cards. Finally, there are some other functions in the deck builder. Clicking here gives you some charts. Of particular note is the card cost chart, which tells you if your deck trends expensive or not. This one gives you an idea about what icons are in your deck. The test section lets you do a hypothetical draw, as if it were your opening hand. And the notes section is great for reminding yourself what the deck is supposed to do or which cards you want to add in later. You can add hyperlinks to the card names using the # or use symbols with the $sign. You can check that you did it right by looking down at the preview here. Some other things to note here: if you click on some cards, you'll note this Ignore Deck Limit button. In particular, the spells will always have this because of the deck building of Parallel Agnes, who can leave lower level spells in her deck without them taking up a deck slot. Parallel Skids does something similar. You might actually want to use this if you're playing the Circle Undone, because you'll be instructed to add in the Ace of Rods without it taking up a deck slot. Let's see how to do that. This green star here means one of these does not count towards the deck size. Finally, let's see how to add customizable cards, which just came out in the Scarlet Keys. When I first add, say, Power Word, I can't click on any of the boxes down here at the bottom. Once I do add the card to my deck, I can go in and start checking some boxes. The neat part here is that it will add the text to the card here and also tell you what level of the card it actually is. One more thing. If you go to Akachi's card, at the bottom it will show you a link to search for cards usable by this investigator. While this is cool, it's not always accurate with every investigator, especially those that have some strange deck building. In particular, Vincent Lee and Carolyn Fern, this doesn't quite work. For example, Vincent Lee should be able to take the Mystic Healing spells, but they're not listed here. But when you use the actual deck builder, they will show up correctly, so use this function sparingly. That's the end of the tutorial. Are there any functions I've missed in ArkhamDB that you think are helpful for new players? Let me know in the comments below. I hope you all take advantage of this amazing website to not only build and maintain your decks, but also explore the card pool and look for neat combinations of cards and investigators. If you're all done here, please take a look at my other Arkham Horror videos here on the channel. There's a lot there, and definitely more to come.